So recently, body cam footage was released of a white police officer antagonizing a black high school principal in front of his son. Now, why was that? Well, because he had the audacity to walk past a crime scene that didn't involve him. So I don't have the footage here, right? But it has been released. Uh, but let me just summarize the conversation that the officer had with this high school principal. And this man's name is Vance Benton, right? And so what was happening is he was basically walking with his son near a crime scene when the officer had asked if they were involved. The police officer reportedly said, "You guys weren't involved in all that, were you?" Now, note that this was a domestic disturbance, right? This was a fight between a couple that happened to be a black couple. So, wait, he asks this guy, "Were you involved in this domestic dispute?" No, no, not at all. According to the Baltimore Star, Benton said he was a bystander who watched the cops arrest a person a block away from his house. He actually was driving by when it happened. He went and got his son. Actually, he was taking him back from, I think it was football practice or something, uh, and said, "Hey, this is a good teachable moment on how you deal with police." So he brought his 15-year-old son to try to, show not only show his son how you deal with the police, but also to make sure that the person that was arrested was treated fairly. So now, after he was asked if he was involved, he responded to the officer, "Why would you ask me that?" I mean, again, that's rather accusatory, right? The officer said, "Well, it's because you're standing here. Well, you're here, so you must be involved." Anybody who's ever been near a crime scene then or looked at an officer or saw an accident, well, they must be involved, right? If you use that logic. I mean, you must be involved because you're watching, you're near it at the time. No, that doesn't mean anything. I mean, look, you can walk by, you can walk past, you can stand there, whatever. And in fact, um, Benton said that. He said, "I can stand here. I'm a citizen. I pay taxes. I just told you I'm educating my son on how to deal with the police." And so, again, Benton said he thought he could teach his 15-year-old son lessons about how to stay out of trouble and deal with police. So, I mean, again, very important lessons. In fact, um, it, look, black people, unfortunately, in a lot of cases, have to have the talk with their kids on how to not get shot by police. I mean, again, this is sad and unfortunate that this has to happen. And even if you do everything right, by the way, think of Philando Castile, right? Philando Castile was a black legal gun owner, and he was shot by police despite following directions from the police and doing everything he was supposed to do. Complete and utter insanity. I mean, look, it's pretty shocking to me when I first found out the disparity in how people are treated. My experience versus the experience of a regular, African American, right? How different our experiences with the police really are. It is really, really shocking because, look, police are really nice to me. They're always nice. They're always respectful, right? But remember, not all experience is the same. Your mileage will definitely vary, as evidenced by this officer's reaction. Now, the officer said this, quote, "Let me educate you, sir. When we do a thorough investigation, we stop and talk to witnesses. Are you a witness?" Look, are you a witness? That's a fair question, right? Benton replied, "Ask me that first. Why would you ask me if I'm involved? Ask me if I'm a witness. If I'm a witness, I'm not involved." That makes complete and total sense. If you think that somebody's a witness, ask if you're a witness. Don't ask, "Hey, are you involved in this?" No. And look, I think at this point, the officer realized that he was handling this kind of poorly, and then doubled down because uh, he said this quote, "Sir, people get away with crime because of people like you," and then told Benton's son, Hopefully you find a good role model, okay? I wouldn't listen to this dude. Now, that was, again, super rude, but hey, thankfully nobody got shot, right? Nobody got shot, nobody got beaten. So that's good, right? I mean, when you look at this situation, when you look at a lot of situations where African Americans, men specifically, go up against police and disrespect them just the tiniest bit, usually someone gets hurt. Now, in this case, that didn't happen. However, the officer did follow them home, or at least a short time. So they were still kind of harassed. Unacceptable, right? So, of course, afterwards, Benton said, you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to file a report with the department. And so he did. He also told county officials that he had never been subject to, quote, such degradation, disrespect, and humiliation. So that ended up leading to an investigation into the incident, and it led to disciplinary action. What that was, we're not exactly sure. Let me give you a quote here from the Baltimore Sun. The investigation determined that the officer was in violation of the department rules and regulations and said that corrective administration action will be initiated. Again, no details on what that is or no details on who the officer really was. So we'll see what happens. Maybe just a slap on the wrist. I don't know. But you shouldn't be treated like a criminal because of the color of your skin. I think it's fairly obvious right now, but this is what profiling is, plain and simple. And I think it's why police should be trained to combat implicit bias. In a lot of circumstances, that bias gets people killed. Now, thankfully, didn't happen here, thank goodness, but far too often, those biases, stereotypes, and ignorance do lead to terrible outcomes. And so we need to watch ourselves. The police definitely need to have some training, some better training, and just do better when it comes to dealing with racial minorities, especially ones who haven't done anything. Hey guys, hopefully you enjoyed that free video. Now I'm going to have to ask you a favor. Between the demonetization and the YouTube algorithm messing around with view counts, etc., we're having a hard time adjusting to the new YouTube reality, which is where you guys come in. See, we have a patreon.com/TYTNation set up to help us rely on you guys, the viewers, instead of big corporate ads. Look, you know the show. You know I'm not in favor of big corporations anyway. So help us transition away from relying on the ad model to pay the bills and sign up to be a patron, patreon.com/TYTNation. That goes a long way to help us keep the lights on. And you guys will know that you're supporting independent progressive media.